in the backyard this morning getting ready to start in on this track and field cabinet that I picked up to do a restoration on, and I'm going to put this back to being track and field. Someone had put double dribble in it at some point a long time ago, maybe when the track and field board broke or something along that line, but for right now that's what it is. But we're going to take and do a restoration on it and bring it back to being a track and field again. I have to do a little bit of work here. The corners there at the front need some help with the wood there, and it's going to need to be repainted more than likely. A lot of work will go into this to get it back to being original. On the inside, it does have a good monitor, and sorry for like the sun bleaching here, but that's it. We're outside and that's what happens. But I can't believe the wiring is they just kind of put another harness in here and took the track and field harness out and put the harness in for the double dribble. But we'll have to go through all of that and redo all the wiring. And the monitor looked fairly good, but it does look like it had a couple white lines at the top, like it's either way out of adjustment or it does need to have some caps replaced. So we'll work with that too along the way. And of course there's going to be a lot of parts that are going to be needed for this in order to complete it. But this morning I'm looking at taking apart everything, stripping everything out of it, and trying to get the cabinet ready to be able to sand and fill any blemishes and repair the parts and be able to get it repainted. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here while I go ahead and take some stuff out of it. Alright, okay, well, we've reached a point where we've got everything taken off of it. Got all of our coin door monitors out, everything that I'm going to take out that in order to be able to sand it and repaint it. Leaving in the light fixture and just loosened up my speakers so that I can slide a piece of paper in underneath to mask them off. So there's a little bit of wire there that's gonna stay anyway. It shouldn't, because we're not going to be painting the inside. We'll just clean the inside of it, and then but everything else has been taken off, and now we're getting ready to work on taking the edge molding off and removing the side decals and start sanding it and prepping it, and then we'll see about fixing the front corners. Alright guys, well, I was trying to use a GoPro camera I have, and it keeps giving me an SD card error. So, but anyway, we are here at a point where we've basically done all the rough sanding and got the decals removed from the sides, and removing the decals is usually easier if you use like a heat gun or a hair dryer. Heat gun's a little too hot, but I just kind of keep a distance on it, keep it on low, and it just heat it up a little bit, loosens the glue so you can kind of peel that off. But I've already done some work here and gotten this sanded smooth just so I could find any low spots in and I've done that all the way around the cabinet, and have a few spots here that we're going to fill to sand, along the edges to get them nice again. Some holes on the front, and the front edge is rough. So, but more importantly is the damaged corners and the bottom edges all along here that we're going to work on. What I've done is I've taken and cut across here with where the damaged corner was to get rid of the damaged corner, and I've added a new piece of wood here that I've cut to match up, and I'm getting ready to fill that with Bondo and sand it so that it'll make it just like it was part of the cabinet. And I'm going to flip over the other side first and do the other corner on the other side with a new piece of wood, because then I can do my Bondo all at once. I don't want to really have to Bondo or mix Bondo twice. I can mix it once, I'm happier. If I have to do it twice, fine, but I'm going to flip that over and we'll try and come back after we've done a little Bondo work. Okay, so we filled all our holes. We're done our sanding, which took about half hour or so. It was a lot of sanding to do. Had a little too much extra Bondo there. But I just finished doing our slot molding, but as you can see, our repair is in here and it's nice and smooth, and all of our cracks are all filled and sanded, and we've got our slot back in there for our T-molding on both sides. Our holes are all filled and sanded, so we've got both corners here ready to go. So everything, I'm going to do a final sanding on it. It looks like I missed a spot there. Stand it up and get ready to paint some primer with it. And then, I'm not sure if I'm going to prime it. Yeah, I'm going to prime it first. I want to prime it first so that I can get a good base coat, and then we'll do a little sanding on it and then start to paint it. So, alright, we'll check back. Okay, well, that was absolutely painful, but did get it, finally get it primed, and I'm waiting on the primer to dry, and there's Dog being nosy, and so that I can actually do some paint. So it takes about an hour or so for the primer to dry. The painful part about it was I had a gun flaw. Didn't know that it was putting too much of a spray, even though I tried it several times before spraying, and ended up with a couple spots that was just too thick, and it ran with the primer. So I ended up having to completely sand all the primer back off and redo the primer altogether with more of a mist. Alright, well, we're wrapping up for the day. Got the blue painted, got the white painted on the sides, and out of time, now letting that white dry while I'm picking everything up, and it looks pretty good. One of the things I'm noticing is the blue isn't quite what I hoped for. Might look a little different here on the phone, but it's a little brighter than I had hoped for. I'm hoping once it dries overnight that it will be a little darker. My phone screen is showing it to be a darker blue, but this card that we had here was supposed to be for this one here on the end, and even on the phone they actually kind of look the same, but when I'm looking at it here in person, it looks a little bit brighter, a little more not the dark blue that I was hoping for, but it's close enough, so can't be too overly concerned about it. The parts here that are for the black on the top and on the back, and for the door, I'm going to paint once I get it inside after this dries. For a little while this evening, I'll get somebody to help me bring it inside and take it downstairs to finish drying, and where I will continue to work on it from there. Alright guys, it's the day after, and got it brought into the basement last night, and I've done some work on it here today that I was going to update you on. I've reinstalled the coin door on the front, and I didn't paint the coin door because I still have some work to do to it. I'm going to put new reject buttons in it because the ones here are so fogged up that you can't even see them, and I'm going to put some new locks on it. The inside here, which let me see, this isn't going to give me any light in there, is it? But on the inside of the coin door here, I went ahead and got the coin counter reinstalled, and volume control knob reinstalled back there behind there. I put the T-molding on, and I've painted my metal trim pieces, and did that this morning, and got them dried and reinstalled them. So basically you've got 4 metal trim pieces, one up here on the top, the 2 right here for your marquee. This one gets bolted on, this one gets screwed on for the top. I just got it sitting here with 1 screw in it until the marquee gets here. And you have a metal frame piece here that is your guide here for your glass that goes in. I took the piece of glass down to the glass shop and asked them to make me a new piece of tinted plexiglass to go on here, because the one that was in it had a couple of spots where it looks like cigarette melts, like somebody had their cigarette too close to the glass and melted it. But it's got scratches and stuff anyway, so we'll get a new piece in there. And got my speakers resecured, and there is another metal piece here at the top back. And what that does is it actually holds the glass in. So you take these wing nuts off, and then you can slide your glass in down through the channels to the front lockdown channel. And that keeps somebody from pushing the glass up and out to drop something down in the game, I guess, in the design. I mean, I understand the thought of it, but you can't. They're trying to secure the cabinet so people can't just get into it. But that would be a really long way to get in through the monitor opening to try and get to anything. But inside here, I put the pieces back on the top and painted this morning, and got our lit paint on the top of it and on the back, so of the black. But one of the things that I noticed whenever I did this tea molding is that this game must have been built on a Monday, because I mean, I can't really get a good light here without. Let me spin it around a little bit so we can see what I'm talking about. But obviously this game was built on a Monday, because when I went to put the tea molding on, I'm like, what the heck? I can feel that I've got a little bit of an overlap here of the tea molding, and then on this side you can see there's a little bit of wood, and it goes all the way around like that. So whoever cut the slot, and it's like that on both sides, and you think, well, that's messed up, but it's been that way since it was built. So I just figure the cabinet must have been built on a Monday, the first one he had or something, because normally your tea molding slot is centered, and the tea molding will cover the whole edge of the wood, where this is kind of offset a little bit to this direction, so it doesn't quite sit like it should. And to most people, they wouldn't notice that, but I hadn't even noticed it whenever I was doing it in the first place, but I saw it when I went to put the tea molding on. Anybody who's ever put tea molding on can tell you it's very simple. You can do it by hand. They tell you you can use a mallet to pound it in. I just run my hand across it and push hard and work it in. The more you pound it, you'll put like divots wherever you pounded it, depending on what you're using. So that, and you stand a chance of hitting something and busting it anytime you're beating it. So I took in, when you put a tea molding on, one of the biggest things is it's got this channel here. So like when you get to bends like this, you stop here, and you're going to have to cut a notch out of the channel that's going down inside the slot, so that you can make the turn. The same thing when you're coming around turns like this, you're going to have to take and not cut a chunk of it out, but now you need to cut slits so it'll spread and fan out and bend backwards. But this actually has tea molding, goes all the way down, around the bottom and around the back. And you can stop the dog from taking a sock. The other than that, I have, you might remember when we first looked here, we had a huge mess of a wiring harness inside this thing. I actually took and rewired the same harness. The harness wasn't bad, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera back around so we can see. I took everything out, and I had put it all in a box, and I'm still not actually done here because there's still more to do. I'm just at a point where it's for the most part ready. I reinstalled the power supply and tested it. It's working, and it's on an accurate 5 volts or 5.04 volts. So one of the things you want to always check with your power supply is, I do this even when I get a game that I'm not restoring. before I power it on, unless I've already seen it running before I bought it, I will take it. But if it's a dead game or anything like that, it's not working, I will come in and I will disconnect your main JAMA connector, or disconnect your harness from your game board, and I will take and test the power supply to make sure the power supply is right. Now, this power supply is a switching power supply. Of course, there are power supplies that are linear power supplies. Either way, you want to check them. Linear power supplies are going to look like a big, huge, giant board, circuit board that's sitting there with heat sinks or any number of things. If you just Google a linear arcade linear power supply, you probably see pictures. But you don't have to disconnect the power supply, but you do need to find the pinout locations for the power outputs for your game board or your game, and measure them and make sure that you're getting an accurate 12 volt reading and an accurate 5 volt reading. If you have too much 5 volts going into a game board, it will burn it up. Linear power supplies are known for, when they go bad and they blow something out, taking the game board with them. So there are people who say to remove the linear and go with the switching, because they don't tend to, when they go out, they don't tend to surge the board. And then there's other people that claim the linear power supply is better for the game board than the switching power supply. Either way, I have no opinion. To me, the switching is easier. I would prefer to use it. So that's been tested. All the wires have been traced down. I found that the power for the coin door lights wasn't hooked up, as well as a bunch of other wires for the coin door weren't hooked up. Found that the power switch at the top of the game was no good. I had to replace it. And the volume control was not even wired in. It was just the original volume control. They just left it and hacked in and went straight to the speaker, which was, basically a kind of a quick hurry up wire job. And you saw it before, and it was not even tied up, and I'm still not finished tying it up yet. We're down in the basement. We have all the games turned on, except for Tapper because it's acting up. And the track and field is finished, despite the fact that there was a problem with the GoPro camera that wouldn't allow me to film. So most of the film footage that I had ended up lost due to SD card error with that. So at the end, we got to miss where I did put the control panel on and did the buttons and put the leaf springs in. And we missed where I got to put the monitor glass back in and trim out the monitor around it. But it is finished up, and it has turned out very well. Everything is functioning. So, and it looks really good. And one of the great parts is when you look at the bottom of this, you can't even really tell. But this had those corners broken out and was repaired. So the holes in the front we had originally when we started, they're all gone.
On your mark.
And it's almost perfect track and field. So can't really see this side because Miss Pac-Man is in the way, and Gabrielle is busy playing that at the moment. So yeah, but we can run through real quick how track and field plays. Track and field, this is because it's running with a temp board, so I have to get we are keeping it. The way that this one's set up right now with the temporary board until I can find the original board, it will only play the player 1 and player 2. Player 3 and 4 will only work on the original board. So that's why I really needed to try and find that board. It'll also, your scores will all be saved on the original board even when powered off. But, here's a shot. Just going to be
on your mark. Get set.
Go, hand, go. It's a one-handed run.
The time, 10.75 seconds.
Why does it look like that on the screen?
Well, because there's a refresh rate between the video and the monitor, what the monitor's actually sending out. Yeah, why don't you play it for me so that I can do the video?
But I suck at long jump.
Foul. Evidently, I stink at it when I'm one-handed with holding a video
I
camera.
just suck at it with both hands.
Go, go, go. Oh! Too high. 60 degrees is way
And
too
I got
high.
a foul.
You fouled again.
Foul.
Well, what am I supposed to get?
Well, you're supposed to get it on the line or before.
No, I know that.
Oh, 47, that'll be okay. You might qualify. Barely. 652. 650 qualifies.
Oh. What's next? Is it that javelin?
Javelin throw, which basically is the same as a long jump.
Oh, crud.
You have to hold it down for a second to get, you know, like at least a 45-degree
Ow.
angle. Fouled again.
Foul.
Oh, crap.
That was really bad.
The distance, 66.91 meters.
I mean, no. I told you I suck.
On your mark.
Yes, hurdles. So
Oh, I suck at this too.
you just tap, 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 jump, tap, 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 jump. Jump. Keep tapping and then jump.
Oh, crap. I'm jumping way too early.
You're gonna have to practice with this.
Oh, crap. Oh, are you kidding me?
You lost the
The
computer.
time, 21.24
Yeah, you're
seconds.
scratching your head there. Game over. You had to at least qualify on that to move on. So, alright guys.
Does it say bad?
Yeah, that was the initials that I put in was bad. So,
What?
evidently it was bad. So,
It was-
anyway, this has been a video discussing the, just going over how to restore a game and bits and pieces of it. It isn't as complete as I would have liked it.
Facebook?
Well, yeah, when it's finished, but you're not on there though. I would have liked to have included more things if the GoPro camera wouldn't have lost some of the excerpts. So you're not in there.
I'm
You
not
gotta-
in it. Like,
Okay, now you're in it. Okay, this is Gabrielle who helped us demonstrate the track and field. So, all right, and from the
On your mark.
basement, we will sign off. So,
Get set.
thanks for watching. If you check out Robert's Arcade Game Projects and Facebook, you can like and look at other stuff there.